what would an off week be if we didn't have the newest batch of rumors swirling around our beloved New Jersey Devils. This past couple days, there's been a lot of articles saying that the Devils should be interested in Henrique. They may be interested in Adam Henrique. Are the Devils looking for an Adam Henrique reunion? I've seen a couple articles coming out talking against why it doesn't make sense. All of the above. Lots of talking heads on the interwebs at large talking about Henrique possibly returning to the New Jersey Devils. I believe he was also linked to several other teams inquiring about his services, including the hated New York Rangers, which I would absolutely be nauseated to see the Rangers grab Henrique. But my take on a potential reunion with Adam Henrique is that there's a lot of things that go into it. I think it is more of a win now type of move. And a lot of you guys seem to think our window is going to be our true window rather will be in a couple years from now. Henrique is a beloved franchise player. He has tons of experience. He's been in playoff battles, playoff tested, had some monster playoff goals for our Devils, obviously. Florida, Game 7, knocking them out and advancing us to the second round to take on the Flyers. And then obviously eliminating the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of the biggest goals in franchise history. Henrique, it's over! Obviously, a beloved player in team history. With that being said, I think the deal does make sense from my end. We just lost a depth center in Mikey McLeod, who seemingly his career is probably over, unfortunately. That's a whole different saga. But with Michael McLeod being out of this lineup forever, essentially, depth centers are a valuable and necessary piece for us to even make the playoffs and then to go on a run once we're in the playoffs. I think Adam Henrique fits the bill beautifully. I think he could slot in up and down the lineup as a center, and I think he would be extremely valuable to this Devils club. Now, in terms of what it would cost to get him, I don't know. I've heard there's been rumors out there that the Ducks are looking for a first, and you know that price would be entirely too high for me. Being where we are right now in the standings and as a team, I definitely could not pay the first for Adam Henrique. I'd love to get him back, but that to me would be an overpayment. And if a true contender out there is willing to pay a first, I can't do it personally. I cannot pull the trigger on sending a first for Adam Henrique. I could see how some teams could convince themselves that he could be a depth piece that puts them over the top for their playoff run and maybe would pay the first rounder. I would not be interested at that price, but something less than that, I certainly would be interested in seeing what Adam Henrique could do on this lineup. I think he'd be a great leader in the room for this very young team, and I think he could produce on the ice. This season, in 49 games played, he has 15 goals and 18 assists for 33 points. So it's not like he's some, a lot of people are like, oh, he's old, he's washed up. He's certainly not. He's a very productive NHL player, very witty, smart hockey player, high hockey IQ. Would love to see him back. Yeah, 33 points in 49 games. That's nothing to sneeze at. And I think he could plug in beautifully in our lineup, especially now with the departure of McLeod. With that being said, the price has to make sense. And so if it is a first, I think that's entirely too much for the Devils as we stand right now. I think we have more pressing needs that we could use that first-round pick in a deal, sending somewhere else, hopefully for a defenseman and or a goalie. Obviously, the more pressing needs for this club. But at a more tolerable price point, I certainly would be interested in trying to get Henrique. And if he would re-sign for a couple years or maybe even a few years at a very team-friendly number, say, 2, maybe 2.3, 2.25, stretching it maybe 2.5, if we could get Henrique to commit to the Devils for a couple or a few years beyond this one at a team-friendly number, I think the deal makes even more sense because I do believe with the right pieces, our window essentially is now and for the next 4 or 5 years, where we will be locked and loaded, ready to go on a playoff run. Now, a lot of you are going to mock me and say, oh, we suck, you're crazy. The reality is, with a defenseman or two, maybe a depth forward or two, and a goalie, this team is capable of winning it all. A lot of people would have laughed at you at several points last season if you said the Florida Panthers were going to go on a run to the Cup. People would have said you're nuts. But the reality is they rallied the troops. They got their shit together, and they went on an absolutely magical run. There's no reason why that could not happen for the New Jersey Devils with a couple roster tinkerings. And I think Adam Henrique would be an absolutely beautiful addition to the roster. The only question is, what is it going to really take to get him here? And can we possibly get him to re-sign for 2 or 3 years after at a super team-friendly deal so we could fit all these other guys under the cap? That is the only question for me. If the return is something we can tolerate, obviously less than a first, I'm all about bringing Adam Henrique back. We had just missed out on another reunion I was hoping to see, which was Zach Parise signed with the Avalanche. And, I think he could have also been a very great addition for the team for the same reasons. Veteran leadership, he's been there before, yada, yada. But he chose greener pastures and went with the Avalanche and is now chasing his cup like Ray Bourque, and I hope they do not win. Sorry, Zach, can never root for the Avalanche. As I said in the previous episode, I will hate them for life because of the 2001 Stanley Cup final loss that we suffered and the Ray Bourque narrative being jammed down our throats. So Adam Henrique would be a very interesting one to me. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.